Okay, well, today we're talking about our TB 2000 combination mag drill, special tapping device, and this thing is just incredible. It's really, I think it's my favorite mag drill actually. It does so many different tasks, and all with a lot of different convenience as well. And so now let's just start by talking about it's the basics of the machine. Now it's got a very strong magnet base, and it has a strong motor built just for this type of application. And you can see it has a special gearbox. You notice how long it is. It has a very complex system inside that allows you to do the tapping function as well as ordinary drilling with twist drills and angular cutters. And here the machine has a cutting fluid feed, which goes with a valve, which you can use to adjust the coolant you need, and it goes directly into the arbor. And in the case of the annular cutter arbor, it directly feeds to the arbor, which is very convenient for drilling. And here, we'll take a look now at the controls. We have the switches here. This is the magnet switch, and it's illuminated when it's energized. And the relay type switches for the motor, these if there's a power outage, it will stop and it will not restart when the power comes back. And you can't see in the picture, but these two switches, the stop switch is higher, so you can just by feel, you can feel to turn it off, and they're protected by a boot here. And you can see also on the machine you have a number of interesting features. Other than the coolant feed, you also have a series of two different scales which allow you to measure your cutting depth when you're drilling blind holes. And you also will have the depth stop, which will limit the stroke of the machine when you're drilling blind holes, and that way maybe you're doing a series of holes all the same depth. You can set this depth stop, and that'll be very convenient for you. But here we have one of the great things about this machine is this arbor. This coupling is a special coupling which is used on quite a lot of machining equipment, especially for tapping. And this coupling is shared by all the different accessories, whether it's for the tapping or for the annular cutter or for the twist drilling. They all share this same special coupling. And then this coupling is also available on outside things. Like this is outsourced, a standard kind of a tapping collet that we would be able to buy from a machine tool supplier. And it's the 1 1/4 inch Bill's number 2 size. So that's a good size that covers the range we wanted to cover. And so let's just start by introducing the different functions of the machine. I'll start with the twist drills. And for twist drilling, you slide right up to the top. And here we have the twist drill arbor with a 1/2 inch chuck with the arbor together. And we have the chuck key, which works in the usual way. And then we mount it into the arbor. Okay, and you can see here this is an ordinary 1/2 inch drill chuck, and here we have the adapter, and you can see that this goes into the chuck in the same way and that's used in the same way as this one. Now we have for twist drilling, it's very important. Sometimes if you want to drill blind holes, whenever you're twist drilling, make sure you are in the twist drilling gear mode of the gearbox. So if you do a switch between tapping and drilling, it's a completely different system. So it shifts just by turning the whole arbor. You have to kind of turn it as you shift it into the gear, vice versa. And with the arrow pointing down, you can see the icon here for annular cutters and twist drills. Make sure you're in that mode when you're doing it, and otherwise it will be too slow. And here, one thing you do is when you're twist drilling, if you want to drill a blind hole, you can zero it in and you can use the depth scale. All you do is you put it to the 0 point, and then you can take your pointer and put it to the 0 mark. And that way the scale can tell you where you are while you're drilling. Let me just put it over the edge here and show you what I mean. So say you want to drill to a depth of 75 millimeters, right? You just look on your scale, there, I'm at 75, and then I know exactly where I can stop. That's our twist drilling function. Now let me just take it off. And now we'll talk about the annular cutter function. Now the annular cutter function has a special arbor which includes the stopper and the spring for the coolant feed for the arbor. This is acting as the valve. And then we have the cutter and the pilot pin of the cutter pressing on the valve, opening and closing it. Okay. And here we have our annular cutter arbor adapter, and as you can see here, it's using standard type set screw of locking system, and the other end is the same kind of Bill's number 2 junction, but here we have the addition of this locking ring, and as you can see it's threaded and it locks into the arbor. So let's take a look at how it works. Now because you have our water feed, we need to use the spring and stopper. So that just the stopper end goes in here, and then you mount it. And now you're in, and you finally want to lock this knurled ring to make sure it's totally steady. And then finally, you take your cutter and your pilot pin, mount it, line it up, and make sure you're on the flat. Yeah, we're on the flat. And here we tighten the other one. And there we're good to go. Now, when we're drilling with annular cutters, we also have to make sure we're in annular cutter mode with it shifted into the gear, pointed down to this icon. And with this one, your pilot pin will be opening the valve, allowing the cutting fluid to go into the arbor. So often when you first begin, you can prime it. You're just opening the valve and allowing the coolant to flow, and then you start drilling, right? And then you drill in the usual way you would with annular cutters. And we'll take that out. And now we get to the most important show of the day, is we have this very special tapping, universal tapping chuck. Okay, you can see here that it's got this universal, so it can fit a very wide range of different kinds of taps. And you can see here, we can take our tap, mount it inside, make sure the squares are mounted properly, and then we tighten her up. So you see here we have this. And you notice the other side looks exactly like a Bill's number 2, 1 1/4 inch coupling, which is exactly what it is. And it goes right in here. And you can see here there's tangs. So you line up the tangs and you're good. And also very easy to come out. And all we have to do is tighten it. Whenever you're tapping anything, right, you need a number of things that are important for tapping. One is you need a lower RPM than you would with these twist drills. You need a low RPM, and also the thing that really makes this machine so special is built into this gearbox is the control, the mechanical logic control of the tap. So it's actually very cool. So the first thing we do is we put it into tapping mode. So we switch out, temperature goes in, and now we are in tapping mode. And if you notice, you can see here that the entire arbor moves up and down. And what that is, so when you're tapping, when there's no pressure, it will be free spinning. But as you apply the down force using the crank, when you apply down force, it will turn clockwise. And it will continue to turn clockwise until you release the pressure. And as soon as you release the pressure, it will stop. And then as you raise the slide, the pulling pressure will cause it to turn in the counterclockwise way and pull your tap out. So it makes it really easy and fast to tap a hole with this machine. So you can tap a series of holes, and once you've tried it, you'll see it's just a very easy to use and very effective and fast way to tap. And another thing about this, the tapping, is like the other, if you want to tap blind holes and you really need to know where you are, we have a scale. And so all you do for this one is take the tap which you are using today, bring it to the 0 point, and that way it will be compressed. And then you zero it, but it's not to 0. There. That tells us we're at the 0 point. But you may notice on the scale it doesn't go to 0, it goes to 4. And that's the minimum you can do because of the mechanism. The mechanism will take 4 millimeters to operate. So for you, 4 is effectively 0. So when you put it to the 4, you're at the starting point. And then you can control how far you tap into a blind hole. And you can just observe your scale and you can control how far you go. Let's take a look. So I have it overhanging here, and you can read on the scale how far you go. And then once you get there, you stop, and then you back it back out, and you're good. And further, if you also are maybe drilling a series of blind holes, and they'll be all in the same depth, you can set up this depth block. And all you need is a 13 and a 14 millimeter wrench. We don't supply that, but everybody has a 13 and 14 millimeter wrench in their house. So all you have to do is, put it to the depth that you want, and then you can actually just adjust this. And it has a really long stroke, and then you use the 13 for the lock nut, and you lock it in place, and then you have it set up. And don't forget to take it back down again when you're going to be doing other work with it, like twist drilling or whatever. So that's the depth stock, and that's also very useful. So we have these two different scales, one for twist drills, and the lower one is the one for tapping. And we can tap all the way up to 20 millimeters with this machine, which is a fairly large hole. Now, let me just take this out again. And I just wanted to mention that, other brands of accessories maybe have a collet with a clutch built into it or something. Those go right into our armor. They work just the same as with anything else. So it gives you a lot of options and choices about how you're going to do the tapping. Maintenance, because with a mag drill or with anything like this, the guidance is very important, and they do need to be adjusted. Let me just turn it around. You can see here on this side, we have the crank. This is a slide lock. You can use that to lock the slide in place if you need to. And here, you can see that these adjusters are very important for if any of them are loose, and you can have some rocking and looseness, that can cause you a lot of problems. It could cause you to break taps very easily. It could cause you to damage cutters or just inaccurate drilling. So we need to keep these adjusted so that it's not too tight, but there is no looseness at all. And the way you do that is we supply you with the machine. We supply you with an 8 millimeter combination wrench, as well as 2.5 millimeter LX wrench. And all you do is, I'll just give you an example, is first you loosen the lock nut, and then you adjust, just so it's tight, but not too tight, and no tighter. And then you tighten the lock nut. So you hold it so that it doesn't move when you tighten the lock nut. Tighten the lock nut, and you're good. And then you check it. Make sure, is it good? Is it loose? Is it binding anywhere? And you run the whole stroke and to make sure it's not binding anywhere. And you do that for the entire row of them. Make sure throughout the entire range you're good. Now, another important part of maintenance is you have to keep grease on your slide. Make sure that it's moving smoothly and easy to operate. Keep everything clean. Change the brushes as needed. And another thing you have is very important for safety is you want to have a chip guard on there. So keeping anything from being pulled into there, we always want to have our chip guard in place. And let me just show you how it goes. It's fairly self-explanatory. You just put the chip guard in place and we supply you with these 2 butterfly screws and washer. You have a washer on there. And so you just line up the hole and put the screw in there. And that also gives you the ability to move it up and down as needed. And the other screw on the other side. And it's an added safety feature. And is required in some countries, so we recommend you to use that to keep things from being pulled into the rotating parts while you're machining. And now is our safety chain. And safety chain should always be used as your last line of defense in case your magnet has a problem. Maybe the magnet fails or it comes loose for some reason. Something gets stuck. And anytime you're working in a high place, you definitely want to have this so that you have a magnet going from a high place. So you just run it through the handle, and then you wrap it around wherever is available to wrap around, and then you tighten to make sure it's there, and then you clip it in place, and you're good.